Thank you, Tom. Our next presenter will be Ryan Vett with Anutra Medical.
Good morning. Can you hear me okay? Great. No? Yes? No? Yeah, there we go. So today, the dental space is getting ever more competitive. And with that, it's hard to set yourself apart. So recently, a practice consultant that's recognized around the world came up with a study that identified 5 key things that patients look for. Most of these are probably not surprising to you. First of all, a painless injection. How many of your patients look like that when you give them a shot? A couple. With that, another pain-related element is that the procedure does not hurt. They want to make sure that the procedure after they get the injection isn't going to hurt them later. They want to stay numb once they are numb. And then staff who's caring and professional and kind. We know that all of you are here because you're that, and so we've already got that box checked. They want an appointment that runs on time. Nobody likes sitting in the waiting room and waiting and waiting and waiting. They get their name called, and then they're seated. Then they're given an injection, and then the dentist leaves, and they're talking, and then at some point the dentist comes back. People want a procedure that runs on time so they can get in and out. And finally, a thorough exam. Now, what do all of those 5 things have in common? It's probably something we haven't thought about a lot. It's local anesthetic. Because if you think about how local anesthetic has worked up until this point, local anesthetic has always been one of the things, the Achilles heel of dentistry. It's one of those things that patients hate because they don't want the shot because they think the shot hurts. They think the needle hurts. And we'll talk about how that's actually not the thing that might be hurting them. They also hate the fact that sometimes they don't get numb, so you're going to send them home. You're going to have to come back another day. They can't stand that. They can't stand the idea that they're laid back, they get the injection, then you sit them back up, and then the dentist has that travel time where he or she's going to walk to the next room, check hygiene, and the assistant or the hygienist is talking to them in the interim, making small talk, and then the dentist comes back. If you think about that, that is so inefficient, but the only reason we do that is because of the inadequacies of local anesthetic. So let's look at the history of local anesthetic. If you think back to the early 1800s, it was often barbers who were doing a lot of dentistry. They were doing extraction. So you'd go to your barber, he'd give you a shot or 2 of whiskey, and then pull out your tooth. That was about the high-tech dentistry that they had back then. And as that morphed, we started to see in the late 1800s that canes like articaine, septicaine, marcaine, lidocaine, the canes started coming into existence. But the interesting thing about the canes was they were sort of addictive. And so they were using cocaine as a topical, and this is what really gets me every single time I think about this. So Sigmund Freud was at the World Fair when they discovered cocaine as a topical. Well, it only works as a topical in mucosal membranes, and so that's either in your mouth or in your nose. Think about that for a minute. So he figured out somehow that cocaine was a topical, and that's what was used for the next 30 years in dentistry. Then after that, obviously lidocaine came into play in the early to mid-1900s, followed by septicaine. And each one of those has gotten progressively better, but still leaves room to grow. It's still one of the things the patients hate most. It's 2 of the 5 top dreaded things when going to a dentist. So what if your patients, after giving an injection, said thank you? How many of you have had a patient say thank you after an injection? 1, 2? Not very many, but there are a couple. And what if the patient said, I'm already numb, while you still have the syringe in your hand? That would really be a game changer. You wouldn't have to leave and go run and check hygiene. We think that's an efficient schedule, but if you scheduled a finance meeting, a marketing meeting, and an administrative meeting, you wouldn't set those up in 3 rooms and run from one to the next. Even the time that it takes you to travel there, sit the patient up, sit the patient down, that's wasted time. So today we're going to talk about buffered anesthetic. But first I want to show you a video of the testimonies of patients. And notice where the syringe is when they're still saying, I can't believe that I'm already numb. It's still in the dentist's hand.
Did you feel the injection?
No, sir.
You didn't feel it?
No. Everything was great.
I didn't feel anything.
Did you do a shot?
I did.
I actually did not feel it.
No, it didn't hurt. I mean, I could feel it numbing even on my lip.
Did you so you have a syringe?
There you go. Didn't even know he had a syringe in the gun. I like that.
It really didn't feel like there was a syringe. It felt like he was just dripping on my gums the entire time.
Well, it seemed to not sting as the needle went in.
Didn't feel anything. It's amazing.
Wasn't bad at all.
What'd you feel?
Nothing. Virtually nothing.
I had no idea it was actually happening.
Whoever invented this new medicine, they earned their keep and they earned their pay that day because it is awesome
Awesome.
Can't feel a thing.
Okay. Tell the camera you didn't say what you said.
I can't feel a thing.
Okay. That's what we like to hear.
Wouldn't that be awesome if every single one of your patients was able to say to you, I didn't feel a thing every time you gave an injection? It totally changes the way you practice dentistry. One of the things that the one lady said was that whoever made this new medicine earned their keep that day. Well, I've got news for you. This isn't actually new medicine. This has been around. It's the lidocaine that you're currently using. The reality is every single local anesthetic from cocaine all the way forward is actually a powder. It's not a liquid. In order for it to become a liquid form, it's dissolved into hydrochloric acid. So if you Googled right now hydrochloric acid and keys, like a car key or a house key, they're actually dissolving metal keys in hydrochloric acid. Hydrochloric acid is as acidic as citric acid, which is found in limes or lemons, as you see on the more acidic side of the pH scale. So what's burning and stinging a patient isn't the fact that it's a needle. It's actually the high levels of acid found in that. Our bodies are right at about 7.4 pH. Look at that huge difference between where you see that lemon and where your lidocaine, your articaine, all of that is now, and where the human body is. So what buffering is, it's been done for about 40 to 50 years in the medical community, but it has not been done in dentistry, mainly because of the metal syringe and the carpule. It's been limiting. But the medical community found this out 50 years ago, that if they add sodium bicarbonate, which we see around 8 in the pH scale, if they add sodium bicarbonate to their lidocaine, it's going to make it more profound, it's going to be more reliable, and it's going to be more fast-acting. And the best thing for the patient, it acts as a topical before you inject. So all you have to do is go into the mouth once, drip a little on their mucosa, and wait about 5 seconds, then inject, and then you get your local as well. So that all comes from buffering. Dr. Stanley Malamed, who has done a tremendous amount of research on local anesthetic over the past several decades, came up with this graph. So if you look, the orange line is buffered anesthetic. You can see that the majority of patients on IA and B are getting numb in about 2 to 3 minutes. Whereas with lidocaine and septicaine, the aqua and the purple lines, it's going to take them a little bit longer. So one of the big things is you have some patients that are getting numb right away, and that's great. Some are getting numb on a block, some are getting numb on your infiltrations, and they're getting numb right away. And then you have those patients that you know, you dread when they're coming in that day, they're not going to get numb. For instance, I'm not going to get numb in the morning because of the copious amounts of coffee I drink. Caffeine is going to make my own buffering slower, so it's going to take me longer to get numb. Patients with fibromyalgia, patients with diabetes, chronic pain, some of those patients also are not going to get numb as quickly. What buffering does is it helps buffer outside the body. Our body has to buffer anyway, but what we're doing is we're taking that process outside of the body and making it so that the patient is going to get numb more quickly and they're not going to feel it. Now, I can talk about it all day long, but we are the most awarded dental buffering product to ever have been on the market. We've been awarded both in dentistry, we've been awarded in the medical community with technology. We even were interviewed by William Shatner, which was pretty cool, if you know who William Shatner is from Star Trek. So the problems that Anutra solves some of those very same 5 problems that we mentioned just a minute ago. What it is, it's going to reduce the pain. It's going to allow you to have more predictable anesthesia. What if you knew that 90% of the time your patients were going to get numb, even on those hard-to-numb patients? 90% of the time, those hard-to-numb patients are going to get numb, compared to the 60 to 70% of the time that those hard-to-numb patients are going to get numb, depending on what's going on in their body that day. It's going to save you time. It's going to add money. Yahoo Finance did a study where we added about 2 hours a day to the average dental practice if they scheduled efficiently using Anutra. 2 hours a day, imagine that, and how much more you could have. The other big thing that we have is 1% lidocaine. So we have 2% lidocaine, but we also have 1% lidocaine in dentistry. UNC did studies on this in the fall, and we're excited to bring this to dentistry for pretty much the first time. 1% lidocaine, when it's buffered, is as effective as 2% lidocaine, but because it's half the concentration, it's going to be better for the patient's blood levels, and it's better, especially if you're a pediatric dentist or see a lot of kids. It's a huge advantage. So we offer both formats, 2%, which you're familiar with, and now 1%, which is extremely exciting to bring to buffering. So what is the system? This is the system, and all we're doing is taking 2 drugs and combining them. So I'm going to talk fast as this video plays, see if I can catch up with it. So basically, what you do to buffer is you would attach a syringe to the smart site. You put the vials on. So the vial on the back is your lidocaine. The vial on the front is your sodium bicarbonate. That's the buffering agent. That all goes inside of our dispenser. And the great thing about this is it's totally sanitary. So you can use this on multiple patients. And all you have to do to buffer is you click and pull, put on your syringe, and you're ready to go to work. So that syringe is going to fill with the anesthetic. And the other thing about a multi-dose syringe is you can have anywhere from 1 cc, which is half a carpule, which is really all you need for most infiltrations. With buffering anesthetic, you need less, all the way to 6 cc. So if you're doing several quadrants and you need to have one syringe, you don't have to keep coming in and out of the mouth to change the carpules out, which increases your safety in the office. It's a huge advantage to the system. So a lot of patients are saying they love the painless injections. What I would love for you guys to do is if you pull out your phone, you can text Anutra right now to this number, and you'll actually get $100 off, and you can stop by our booth, booth 612, and you'll be able to get a discount on our starter special today. Buffering is an incredible way not just to help your patients, but help your staff. We had one dentist, it was just published in Inside Dentistry, he took his staff's vacation time from 3.5 weeks to 6 weeks because of the time saved with Anutra and the money he added back to his practice. Imagine that. You're not just benefiting your patients, you're not just providing a better, more comfortable injection, you're not just having a more reliable schedule, you're changing the whole way you practice, not just for your patients, not just for you, but for your entire staff. Thank you very much. Have a great day.